What does it mean to be African? Outside of having roots directly in Africa, I would say that being African is a feeling, a culture, and a story that has been passed down through generations. What I'm going to talk about is not going to be the obvious stuff that everyone would think about immediately, because I know that some of you guys in the comments are going to be, isn't an African just from Africa? But before you do that, just shh. We are, but there's a lot more to it. In Africa, people don't think of skin color really as what makes them African, so it's definitely not just about that. Being African is more about being able to show strength in the face of any adversity. Being African is being proud of your African heritage, whether you were born in Africa or whether you're not, which includes people whose family are African. Africa is not a big country like most people think it is. It's rich in beauty and culture. There are 54 whole countries in this land, with their individual cultures and beliefs and traditions. African people generally aren't what is portrayed on TV in the US. You guys have seen all those Alyssa Milano commercials where she's just saying, oh, for less than a cup of coffee a day, you can save an African children or get water to an African village or whatever. But I mean, that's probably true, but not all African people need Alyssa Milano to save them like that. So if you want to donate, please donate, but you can also have your coffee too, geez. Also, before I even begin, really, there's this huge pet peeve of mine where all these Christian organizations would go to Africa thinking that they can save all of the Africans, all the African people, which is kind of stupid and interesting to me. I don't really have a problem with the work that they do when they go, but I have a huge problem with them taking the pictures and videos of them doing the good work that they're doing. Like, I mean, if you're gonna do good things, just do good things. You can still do the same amount of good without a camera in an African baby's face. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. But all those things that I've mentioned are cool and all. They're really good things that make people African, but that's not what this video is about. Of course not. I'm going to talk about the real African stuff, things that make people African. I am from Ghana, so I'm going to base most of this on my own heritage and my own culture. Most West Africans would relate the most, but everyone who has African roots whatsoever should be able to relate to all of it also, so just bear with me. All right, first thing, family and community. Families are huge for Africans. We already have so much family that even family friends, people who are not actually family, are called aunties also. You won't believe the number of aunties and uncles that just keep randomly popping up everywhere I turn. I would go to any kind of function and my mom would be like, oh, you want to meet this new uncle? And I'm like, who are these people? I've never heard of an Auntie Evelyn before, but it's my new auntie just because she's friends with my mom. That's just how it works. It's not just about blood. It's a lot of support and connection and being there for each other. People talk about the African phrase that says it takes a village. The aunties and uncles are literally the village, so that's just an African thing, I guess. Also, it's this weird thing that like African people can do really well, but if we're out in public and we see another African person, we can kind of tell that they are African. It works best if it's West African, because if I see a Nigerian person out in public without them speaking, I can kind of almost guesstimate that they might be Nigerian. If I see a Ghanaian person out in public, I would without a doubt know that that is a Ghanaian person. And before I even go speak to them, I would have clocked that they're Ghanaian, and then they speak Twi to me. So yeah, Africans know how to do that really well. I don't know why. It's just a thing that we can do. Okay, so the next thing is the culture. Being African is also about the pride that we take in our culture. We have so many traditions, so much food, so much good music, dance, clothing, all these kind of things. Our culture that has been passed down for generations. It's kind of interesting to see that these days African culture is trending on social media. I would have loved that to be the case when I moved to the US, because I got a lot of, let's just say, interesting questions thrown my way about Africa. Some of the questions someone asked me was like, oh, did you fly here? Because I guess they didn't think that we had airports in Ghana for some reason, or cars, I guess. They thought I don't know, swam to the US for some chance, but whatever. People ask me if we used to like go to school on horseback or on lion back or on camelback or on elephants, which was another interesting question. I don't know where they saw that from. I don't even think there's a movie where people are doing that in. Maybe Tarzan, but Tarzan is white, so that doesn't sound very African to me, but whatever. When it comes to food, apparently over the last last year or so, there's this thing that has come out about Ghanaian people loving eggs so much I didn't really believe that stereotype very well until I moved in with my girlfriend like a couple months ago and realized how much egg we eat. So I think that's pretty accurate. We eat a lot of eggs. Eggs are pretty good. I see a lot of fufu and banku just all on TikTok. There's a lot of people going to try African foods on TikTok, which is mind-blowing to me, but whatever. African cultures, most of the food that we have, we eat them by hand. It's going to be some kind of starch, maybe cornstarch or maybe pounded cassava or like some kind of starchy thing that is made into a ball that you're going to eat with your hand. That's just how most African food is. Also, there's this thing in Ghana where, I don't know if this is a thing in other African countries too, but you can't use your left hand to like receive things from people or eat, really, even if you're left-handed. There's this thing that when we were growing up, we were taught that after we used the bathroom, we were supposed to wipe with our left hand. So using your left hand to collect anything from someone or using your left hand to eat is a huge sign of disrespect. So you're supposed to use your right hand for everything. And if you have your right hand occupied and you want to give something to someone, you would basically make your right hand touch your left arm while you give something to someone, so it kind of cancels out the disrespect. It's pretty weird, but it's fun. I do that still. People think it's weird that I still do that, but it's just stuck with me. I just always do that for whatever. Next thing is music and dance. I'm gonna play this song real quick. Just listen to this for a second. If that sound just made you move your body and feel some kind of connection to it, I'm just gonna guess you might be African, honestly. When you hear a sound like that, when you hear that kind of deep cultural African sound, you just cannot help it. It doesn't even matter what African country you're from, you just can't help but dance to it, pretty much. Also, Amapiano. I've been seeing a lot of these South African people dancing on TikTok, and I don't know how to do it. I would try my best, but it's not anything close to those. But that's another dance that's also African culture that pushes and moves African people. African people see that stuff and they like resonate with it a little bit, which that's pretty cool also. Then when it comes to clothes and fashion, in Africa we have almost every tribe, every ethnicity has their own traditional clothing and traditional sewing patterns. The kind of clothing that they wear, the kind of clothing that they make, the kind of cloth like kente cloth. In Ghana, Nigerian culture has their own kind of cultural clothing also. It's just a really cool thing. Oh, and also that the headgear thing that most women wear in cultural fashion settings is really cool. I see most West African countries have that thing. I haven't seen that in many other cultures except for African culture, so that's cool. As an African, you're expected to pretty much focus on school and nothing else at all, because you going to college is a requirement, not a privilege. You have to be good in school so you can get scholarships to go to college, because you're supposed to go to college. Another nerve-wracking thing for an African person would be bringing like a partner home to visit their parents. It's just terrifying. I mean, if you're in the middle of wanting to do that right now, just do it. You'll be fine. You're gonna thank me later, because it's not that bad. Just do it. Going out with friends is a little bit difficult in most African households. It was for me. I didn't go to any of my school dances because I just moved to the country, and I think the homecoming dance was coming up, and I wanted to go to the homecoming dance. I don't know why I wanted to go to the homecoming dance, but I told my mom that I wanted to go, and she asked me, she was like, why do you want to go to homecoming when you already come home from school every day? I feel like that's something only an African parent would say, which is funny, but I love her. She's great. There's also people wanting to touch my hair. Everywhere I go, someone wants to touch my hair, whatever. At least ask. Don't just touch my hair. There's people who, whenever I tell them I'm African or from Ghana, they ask me, oh, do you know Kojo, blah, 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 blah. Do you know Esther, blah, 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 blah. As if I'm supposed to know all the African people who live in the U.S. for some reason, just because I told them I'm African. And also, if they know African people, they're going to try to connect me to the African people that they know for some reason, which is very weird. But I mean, I'm sure it comes from a good place. It just keeps happening. I don't know why. Also, a lot of people tell me, oh, your English is so good. But like, I am from Ghana. My first language is English, really. I've spoken English my whole life. So your English is so good, it's not like a shock to me. I've spoken English since I could speak any language. Oh, also, everyone pretty much butchering my name. I know that there's other people who also have complex African type names, and everyone says it wrong. Everyone you've ever met says it wrong, but it is what it is. I remember my school had to call my mom to ask her how to pronounce my name on the morning of my high school graduation, just so they can get it right, which is interesting. Oh yeah, also having the support of your family and every single other Black person when your name is mentioned at graduation. If anyone hears an African type name, or if anyone sees a dark-skinned human person walk up onto the stage to go receive a diploma, the outpour of like whistles and yays and yells and screams supporting you is crazy, even if they don't know who you are. I've graduated school 2 times and it happened both times. That's just how it is. Oh yeah, also plantains. I don't know, there's just a lot of people who are not from Africa don't know anything about plantains, which is very shocking to me. I think they're just big bananas, but no, they're plantains. They're pretty good. All in all, what makes you African is not the way that you look, but it's more your heart and your personality and the things that you do, the way that you react to your family, the way you react with your friends, your community, and the way you react with the world are the things that make you African. The things that make you African is that you're easy to approach, you are as beautiful as you're powerful, and you're as generous as you're strong. That and all the dances and all the culture and all that fun stuff also. That's what makes people African, I think. But don't take my word for it, really. I'm just Ghanaian. There's so much diversity and so much culture in Africa that I feel like more people should come up with videos like this. Just people of other African descents should do this also, so that we can like bring it all together and see how similar or how different or how beautiful African culture is. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, see you guys.